Looks like a no. Do you want to do math? Ha! You got no choice. Do the video. Stop making fun. Honey, why you always make fun of me? Honey, pay attention to me. Why you always make fun of me?
You shouldn't make fun of people. It's rude.
Why do you always?
All right, welcome back to YouTube with Lubelski. We're going to be comparing integers. Now, remember, integers are all those whole counting numbers and their opposites. So you've been comparing numbers since you were probably a little kid. And the way that we compare numbers is the same way that you did when you were younger. The alligator symbols, okay, are greater than or less than symbols. The mouth eats the bigger of the two. So there's a couple of key things you need to know when you're comparing integers, because when you were little, you just ate the biggest of the two numbers. So 13 is bigger than 9, so the alligator eats 13. Now, sometimes we have situations, and let's scroll down to some of the bottom ones. Sometimes we have situations like number 12. Number 12 is unique because it's comparing two negative numbers. And everything about you is going to want to say that 4 is a bigger number, so negative 4 is greater than negative 3. But it's not. You have to look at a number line. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to draw a number line up here, and so should you. So follow along and draw this on the top of your paper. It's not going to be huge. We're just going to look at it and compare it. So here's my 0 in the middle. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Now, when we've compared numbers, the further to the right, the bigger the number. And that's when we're talking about just positive counting numbers or positive numbers at all. So if it's really far to the right, it's a lot bigger. So 4 is greater than 5 because it's further to the right on the number line. The same thing is true about negative numbers. The further to the right, the larger the number, because think about it. Negative 1 is really close to 0 in all those positive numbers. So actually, negative 1 is greater than negative 2. So the alligator would want to eat negative 1 because it's closer to those positive numbers. It's very counterintuitive because we've been taught all of our lives that the bigger the number, the greater it is. Well, in negatives, it's the opposite. The larger the digit, so for instance, 4, 5, the larger those digits, the smaller the number actually is. And you can think of it in terms of temperature. The larger the negative number, so negative 50, the colder it actually is. Okay, so it just keeps going lower and lower and lower. So when we're comparing these, we just have to keep that in mind, that with negative numbers, it's actually opposite of what we've grown up with. It's the larger the digit, the smaller the value actually is. So one thing we know for sure is that when we have two numbers that are the same, they are equal to each other. So negative 2 equals negative 2. Question number 3. Anytime you have a positive number compared to a negative, the positive always wins. That's the greatest number. It's further to the right on the number line. Same thing for number 4. It's the positive number that wins. Number 5, we've got negative 14 is equal to itself, negative 14. Here's where some kids get tripped up. Negative 8 versus 8. So you see the 8s and you think, oh, they're equal, but because of that negative sign, 8 is actually greater. The positive number wins out every time against a negative. Number 7, same thing. 15 is greater than negative 7. Now, 0, until this year or in 6th grade, you always learn that 0 is the smallest number. Well, it's not. Negative 5 is actually further away, to the left on the number line. So 0 is actually greater. Number 9, remember, the positive always wins out if it's a positive versus a negative. Number 10, 16 versus 20. I'm definitely going to eat 20 French fries If I had to choose between 20 or 16, I'm going to eat 20. Number 11, 12 is equal to 12. It's equal to itself. Number 12 is the example we talked about. Even though 3 is a larger digit, even though 4 is a larger digit, 3 is actually the larger number because it's further to the right on the number line. It's closer to 0. So I'm going to want to eat the negative 3. Number 13, positive wins out. Number 14, 18 is equal to 18. Number 15, even though 16 is a greater digit, it's actually further away from 0, so negative 13 is the greater of the numbers because it's the opposite of what we know compared to how we compare positives. And number 16, the last one, the positive always wins out when it's positive versus the negative when comparing. So there you have it. Make sure that you do a practice page on your own, and you remember that the larger the digit, the smaller the value when you're comparing integers, or the further away from 0 you get, the smaller it is on the negative side of the number line.
So I'm going to have to start pulling my husband into these videos because my comedic genius is running low. I think he is a plethora of greatness.
Not a husky, but a cheeky mama.
Hoo-wah-wah.